At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
Write Night is a talk show with published authors, writers, and content creators discussing both the creative and technical sides of writing, as well as the industry surrounding it, from novels to screenplays to comics and more. And now, here's your host, author Travis I. Sivart.
Welcome to Write Night. We'll get to the topic and discussion in just a moment. For those listening to the podcast, we record the podcast on our live stream at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk, and we have a live interactive chat audience. You might hear the sound of the bell ding, and that means I want to interrupt somebody to read a comment or question. For those on the live stream, we won't read off everything you put in chat, but we'll try to get to the most relevant, the most amusing, or some combination of the both. Now, while we introduce ourselves, go and let us know what you're reading, writing, or creating tonight. And while you guys are putting that in chat, I'll introduce myself a little more than Cogsley did there. I am Travis I. Sivart, and, considering the topic we have, I don't have any books that relate to the topic, so I'll just talk about I will just mumble and stutter over myself. So, folks that I have collaborated with. Steampunk for Simpletons is one of my best collaboration. You think I've been drinking? And I haven't. I should start. I speak better. I co-wrote it with Wendy Callahan, but I also reached out to like 36 other people to include their thoughts and perceptions on certain aspects of steampunks. It's still one of my best-selling books up to this day. Let me let my first-time co-hosts introduce themselves. Crystal, may I start with you, and then you pass it to Laura when you're done?
Absolutely. My name is Crystal Wood. If you spend much time hanging out on book forums or writing Twitch streams, you might know me as Raven's Muse. But, sorry, you can hear that.
It's okay.
I am a ghostwriter. I just finished my 26th book, but nothing under my own name yet. I am also working on my first book that's going to have my name on it, which is called Hearts of the Fallen, which I'm aiming to release in August.
That's awesome. What about you, Laura?
Okay, I'm Laura Parkinson. I'm currently editing my debut novel called One-Handed Typing, and hopefully I'll be going on submission with that in the next few months or so. I don't have a background in writing. It was actually in graphic design where I got my degree in, and I actually thought I'd be designing the book covers rather than writing them.
So I should ask you this off air, Laura, but like my next book cover, if I want it done better than I could do it myself, can I work out a contract with you and pay you to do it?
I'm sure we could think of something.
We'll figure it out. Good, because man, I can, but I understand what skill and training gives that I don't have. Okay, so tonight's topic, we're going to talk about ghostwriting, which is something I know next to nothing about, but I've had a handful of people, including Crystal as Raven's Muse, come into my Twitch stream and mention this. And I'm like, that's great. And it's fun. It might have been you, Crystal, that said, yeah, but I haven't published my own, so you're further along than me. I'm like, but you're making money off of writing. Do you make a full living out of ghostwriting right now?
I do. I mean, I have over the last 3 years, but I'm actually taking a step back from it to work on my own book. So my husband is currently carrying the bulk of the bills while I do that.
Understandable. But the point is, you've made a living writing. Maybe not under your own name, but you've made a living writing. And that's an incredible thing. And Laura, what do you know about ghostwriting up to this point? What's your perception or experience or anything?
I haven't had any actual experience with ghostwriting. It was just books that you'd hear celebrities get ghostwriters to help them. But that's generally it for me for ghostwriting. So it'd be nice to hear how that goes about. Yeah.
See, and that's generally the same for me too. So Laura, as I'm asking questions, don't let me hog it all. If you got something, jump in here and let's learn something. Now, for anybody who's like, what is ghostwriting? Is that like, getting the Ouija board and communing with your dead relatives to get... No. Ghostwriting is, and Crystal, I'm just going to give a brief definition. If you got more, shove me aside.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, you don't have to be a writer to be an author. If you have an idea for a great story, but you don't have the technical skill to actually get it out on the page, or you just don't have the attention span or the self-discipline to pump out 20,000 words in a week, you can hire somebody to talk you through the process. They will make a detailed outline based on your description of what you're wanting to happen in the book, and you pay them, per 1,000 words, or however the ghostwriter typically wants to get paid. And you agree on a rate, you sign a contract, and the ghostwriter will deliver your manuscript at the end of the deadline. So hopefully by the deadline.
So how do you get into this? I know there's websites out there where people can go sign up, but I'm guessing you have to build a name for yourself. And let's start with how you got into it, then we'll branch out from there.
Okay. Back in 2017, I signed up for an Upwork account. I signed up on several different websites. I did Moonlighting, Fiverr, and Upwork. And the first one that actually yielded any results was Upwork. So that's the reason that I have built my platform on that site specifically. The first job that I got was just helping someone build an outline. She had an idea for a supernatural creature and a plus-size heroine, and wanted me to build an idea around this specific idea that she had. So I wrote an outline for $8, and that was my first job. And I continued taking pretty much any job I could get for that first year. And man, I took some really weird things. And, no regrets, because I needed their reviews more than I needed their money. Right. I mean, at first I was working for peanuts, but those reviews were what got me the credibility that I needed to get the really big clients. So.
Very cool. Now, are you still on Upwork?
I am.
So if somebody wants to hire you to do something for them, can we talk about that? How do they find you on Upwork?
Oh, yeah. I have a profile that's open on Upwork. I really don't go out and apply for jobs anymore because I have, I don't know, like 30 something completed contracts on there. Not all of them were novels. I've only 26 of my jobs have actually been full-length books. But I've completed lots of other contracts for speech writing and stuff like that. Just instances where somebody needs research done, or, who knows what. But yeah, most of the time, clients will actually reach out to me, so I haven't really needed to go job hunting for a while.
So how does somebody find you on Upwork? Do they just search Crystal Wood?
Yeah.
Okay. And if anybody doesn't know what Upwork is or Fiverr is, they're actually two really very cool services. Upwork, if you want to do voice work or that sort of thing, or writing, basically if you have a skill that you want to be hired out for that isn't like carpentry. Laura, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I actually contacted someone on Fiverr to be a beta reader, and they were quite helpful with mine. They would offer to do the first, I think it was 1,000 words for free, testing it out, and then they would charge you for the rest. They were quite helpful.
Good to know.
It's not just like Ghostwriter. Even something like a beta reader, you can easily get through them.
I might have to look into that. So Upwork is where people go to hire you to do the crafting type stuff. Fiverr is similar but different because you can get people to do graphics, videos, voiceovers, commercials on their podcast if you want to be advertised on their podcast, and so much else. And they're both worth looking at whether you want to put your skills out there, or if you're looking for maybe a book cover or your opening graphic intro on your YouTube channel or whatever. Check both things out depending on your needs. Okay, so how long ago did you start on Upwork?
I believe it was April of 2017.
Okay, so...
And, it took a couple of months. There were a couple of months where I didn't actually get any response at all. And I was applying for like 20 jobs a day, just anything that remotely looked interesting to me. And, it just kind of snowballed. After I started getting good reviews, it started just rolling in on its own, and it was great.
Gotcha. So with ghostwriting, okay, now I'm just got a real curiosity. How many of the 26 novels were erotica?
The definition of erotica will vary from person to person.
Sure.
I'm going to say I don't think I did any full novels that I would consider erotica.
Okay.
There were some heavy steam scenes for sure. But as far as being purely sex-oriented and driven all the way through, I really only did some chunks in the middle where people were stuck.
Gotcha.
Because you get these erotica writers that don't actually know how to write sex scenes, or they don't know how to write something in between the sex scenes. And they don't need a full book produced, but they need help with just a chunk here and there. And so I wouldn't count those amongst my novels that I've completed, but I've done quite a few of just little jobs, miniature gigs, helping erotica writers in between.
As an author, I would have never thought to go to somebody else to write me out of a corner or out of a place where I'm just stuck and don't know where to go next. It never occurred to me. I had
one writer that was she just needed a fight scene, and she's like, I'm stuck. I've had writer's block for months. I just need this fight scene to be over. So I read the first bit of her book, and then I wrote out the fight scene.
Very cool. Do you get any credit at all?
No.
Okay. And go ahead.
Oh, that's just part of that just comes with the territory.
Right.
It's kind of like being a surrogate parent. Mm-hmm. You put your time and energy into germinating this seed of a novel, and when it's finished, it's not yours. You pass it on to the person who paid you to write it, and you don't have any ownership of that novel.
And there's a contract that says you're not allowed to tell anybody that you wrote that specific novel.
That's right.
Or for that person under their name, or any of that. So there's a non-disclosure agreement of some sort.
Well, because some of these are actually legitimate authors, and they do write their own books most of the time, but for whatever reason they don't want to do this one, or they're just over it. They've written a 6-book series and they're tired of writing it, and they don't want to lose their professional reputation because they hire a ghostwriter, even though it's totally their ideas and they are totally responsible for all the creative aspects of the job. They will still lose credibility if people know they use a ghostwriter.
There's one author out there that I saw, and he puts out a book literally every 3-4 days. And it's not like a 20-page book. They are 200-300-page books. And I'm like, okay, obviously using multiple ghostwriters. And it's like fantasy. Yeah. Well, it's... And by the way, these books within a month have 1,000 reviews each. This person is just racking in the money. And I can't point a finger and go, they're wrong. Because people are buying it. People are enjoying it. And other people are getting, no doubt, paid to write it.
And there's something to be said for that author, too. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's something to be said for that author if he or she is able to maintain consistency through those different books, if they are hiring a variety of different writers, to be able to communicate enough to those writers to make it seem like everybody is the same.
Right.
It's all coming from the same person. They have to be really good at directing their team to be able to make that work. So they're doing a great job then.
Yeah. And from what I understand, like I said, it's mostly fantasy smut, these series. But they'll take, like, Aladdin and rework it into a harem fantasy, and then the next one will be like a Little Mermaid knockoff, and so, or Beauty and the Beast or whatever. Other ones are space, where where a guy gets transported to a fantasy world and he has magical powers and he uses it to have sex with everybody. But by the way, great covers. I don't know. I mean, just keeping up with the covers alone would be a full-time job, but yeah, ghostwriting is a very viable thing that's out there, and I don't think anybody should be upset if somebody is paying somebody else to write their novels. That's a business.
I absolutely agree. And two, it doesn't take away from the fact that they're still creating these worlds. Like, the people who are just stuck on world building and can't rip the novel out, but they're just making these intricate magic systems and politics and religious geography and all kinds of stuff. And they just can't write the story. So, I mean, sometimes it takes a team of people to write a novel, and that's okay. I mean, as long as we're all making a living off of it, I see no problem with it whatsoever.
Can we talk money? And you can use generalities. Oh, yeah. What do you get for how many words? How's that work? And what do you start at also? And then how far can you go?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My first full-length novel that I did, I got paid $4 per 1,000 words. And now I make $30 per 1,000 words. Okay. So, it and how fast you're able to work, directly affects how big of a paycheck you're going to get. With some clients, they will offer a speed bonus, and some don't. It just depends. But generally, I make about, $1,800 for a book, and I can whip one out in 4 or 5 weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me want to swear, but in the good way. Like, that is really fucking awesome. That's great.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to set aside some for taxes.
Right. You are running your own business.
About 20% of that is gone.
Yeah.
But you also need to make sure that you write off everything that you need, your Grammarly subscriptions and all that stuff
your office space, your upgrades.
Yeah. So you have to become your own accountant, because you're an independent contractor, so you have to treat it like it's your business.
How long?
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Laura.
How difficult is it to mimic somebody's writing style if you're just writing a chunk of it?
For me, it's not too difficult, as long as I've read their work. You can mimic it as closely as you can, and then when the author goes back over it, they're going to change little things here and there. Like, I don't like the way you worded this, so they're going to switch it around. Or I like, the action tag before the dialogue instead of after, something like that. The technical parts of it, I'm usually able to mimic pretty well, but stuff like dialogue or humor that they have to put their own little personality into, sometimes they just need something that's the wrong thing before they can finish it. And they'll just insert their personality and their voice throughout the page.
So has any of the stuff you've written for somebody else ever won any awards that you know of?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Has anything that you've been paid to write for somebody else, has it won any awards that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I like to go online and search for some of the things, and I'm not able to find all of them, so I don't even know what becomes of some of the stuff I write.
Right.
But I do like to read the reviews on the things that I do find, which, that's always nice to see what people are thinking, whether it's good or bad.
In general, what's the response?
My favorite was...
At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
As I was working under a rapid release publisher, and so it was a lot of us ghostwriting under the same name. And somebody said, this particular series is just so much better than everything else that she writes.
Oh.
And I'm just kind of like quietly having my ego stroked in the background because, you know, that's my thing. That was my one thing that I wrote, and it was the best thing that she wrote out of hundreds of books. So it made me feel pretty good.
That's awesome. And I guess if you get a bad review, you don't have to feel as bad as if it's yours.
Yes, exactly. And especially when you have to write something that you don't necessarily like.
Right.
Because sometimes they will... I had a sci-fi client, and the stuff that she was making me write, it was literally like eating broken glass. It was just painful through the whole book. I was like, this is so bad. The idea was great, but the way she wanted to execute it was just not my cup of tea. And I had to continue telling myself over and over again, my name's not going to be on this. It's fine.
I am so curious because you said it was like literally eating broken glass. Is that the scene you were writing? Or is that just how it felt to write all the other stuff?
Well, like, she gave me an outline. The outline looked great.
Uh-huh.
But then when we actually started going through and she was giving me feedback for the various chapters, there were just specific things that didn't necessarily make sense, things that I considered to be plot holes. And I'm like, I feel like your readers are going to hate your protagonist because it's so obvious what is going on and she's oblivious, and they're not going to have any respect for her because she is stupid. If you're trying to say that she doesn't understand this or she's not picking up on any of these millions of clues, you know? And I really hated the protagonist. I hated spending 8 hours a day with this person that was the main character of the book.
So,
and
you wrote,
you know,
which book out of the Twilight series was it then?
No, but it was the same kind of.
It was a.
That's actually the book that I brought up. I'm like, you're just making another Bella Swan, and everybody's gonna be mad. And she's like, no, it's fine. I really feel like she's just naive. And I'm like, there's naive, and there's just outright ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, you know, you are being paid to deliver a product, and even if you don't necessarily like what it is, it's not your story. This was not my story to tell, and I had to keep telling myself this is her book that she dreams of realizing, and you just have to give her what she wants, give her what she's paying for.
It's kind of like when I worked in a steakhouse and had to bring out well-done steak. I had to remind myself, it's not my steak. They can do what they want. I'm just delivering it.
Just rub it on your armpit on the way out the door.
Hold on, Nope, I got nothing. I'm moving on. So yeah, I did the math there, and by the way, I've written quite a few books, as you've seen, as you know, and even at $4 per 1,000K, which is only $200 or $300, I think it's $240 when I did the math, at a 60,000 word book. I don't know how long. How long? What's the longest book you've written for somebody? What's the biggest word count?
120,000, but that was back when I was only getting paid $10 per 1,000 words.
Still not bad.
So it was really only about $1,200.
Okay, but what I'm saying is,
and it took me a couple months at that point because I wasn't working full time as a writer then. I was a manager at Tractor Supply, and I was coming home and writing for 6 hours in bed at the end of every day. So, well, it was rough. It was long.
Even $240 is more than I've made off some of my books after a couple of years. So, you know, when you compare that, yeah, not bad. Okay, so, I lost that thought. That's what I get for listening instead of chanting whatever I had in my head. So that's a pretty long book. Oh, how do you submit it to them? Do you send it chapter by chapter for feedback? Do you do a third of the book? Whole book? How's that work?
That actually completely depends on what the client wants. Sometimes it'll depend on what you want. You have a little bit of a say. You don't have to take any job that you don't that you don't feel comfortable taking, or you don't like the pay schedule or whatever. Some people want to check in every week. Some people just want to give it to you in one lump sum. Some people will be like, all right, I'll pay you $400 now for the outline, and I'll pay you the rest when you deliver the finished manuscript. So, different people want to do it in different ways, and it depends. It completely case by case basis.
Fair enough. And what about repeat clients?
Yes, the something that contributes to having a high job score on your Upwork account is having long-term clients, and it'll show the percentage of your clients that are longer than 6 weeks.
Very cool.
So that definitely goes towards your credibility, having people that are willing to work with you long-term. So, keeping communication open.
Laura, do you have any questions or thoughts right now?
Well, I was thinking about, do you ever have any clients that are not happy with what you've done and you have to do rewrites? Does that happen often?
Yeah, well, it happened more when I was first starting out, the first year that I worked, and that was another reason why I was kind of okay with not getting paid as much, because I didn't really know what I was doing at that point. And I was lucky enough to have some clients that were really amazing writers that coached me and helped me become better. People that went to conferences and workshops and writing retreats and all this stuff. And I was able to get all their decades of knowledge and, learn even a tiny bit of it. And it made me grow by leaps and bounds over those first couple years. But yeah, during the first 2 years that I was writing, there were several clients that, they would get a scene or a chapter and they'd be like, I'm really not feeling it. And I would have to go over it and over it and over it. And it's not that I necessarily had to, because when you're under contract, you usually get paid after you turn the work in, hopefully. And, you can just decide not to work together anymore if they want to keep making you do it over and over again.
Right.
But I personally wanted that good review more than I wanted the money. So I was willing to do it as many times as I needed to so that they'd be happy with it. So, yeah.
And I'm trying to think if I have anything specific to ghostwriting, or Laura, you got anything else right now? Because I'm going to go in a different direction if we don't.
No, go for it.
I do have one last thing I want to say,
please.
And it kind of ties in with the contracts and stuff. You want to make sure that you know for a fact that you're getting paid. If you go on one of these sites like Upwork and such, you want to make sure that you follow the procedure properly and that you get into an actual official contract, and you don't deliver that product without making sure that the money is in escrow already. They've already put it down and it's waiting for you when you're done, because you can deliver that product and they decide they don't like it for whatever reason and they can just not pay you.
Here's a sad fact. Go ahead.
Yeah, you've worked for 4 weeks on something and you don't get paid for it because you didn't lock them in with a contract first.
A lot of us creative folks are really naive and very trusting. And for whatever reason, as we write these horribly conflicted stories, we're naive and trusting. It's so cute. But yeah, CYA on this. Make sure when you go in, if you look at whether it's Upwork or anywhere else, check the process, familiarize yourself with the process, and follow it. Don't trust anybody, even if it's the third time you've worked with them. Don't just pass it over.
And after you have a chance to establish yourself and you can be a little bit picky with clients, look at the reviews that other artists have left for that client and see what they said. If there's a plethora of 1-star reviews toward that client that says they don't pay, or they're not honest, then just don't even bother wasting your time.
Good point. So let's say you come out with this book, it's incredible, and you come out with this series over the next few years and it's incredible, and suddenly everything's exploding. Would you ever consider using ghostwriters for your work?
I'm not going to say that I wouldn't, because I mean, I appreciate having a job as a ghostwriter. I kind of lean more toward the idea of being a publisher
Mm-hmm.
and, signing someone to write under me under their own name.
Right.
Just because I don't like the thought of taking credit for somebody else's work, even though, it wouldn't necessarily be, entirely them coming up with everything.
Right.
Maybe do like a co-authorship or something like that, or something like that.
We've seen a lot of the big name authors do that. Actually, and now that I've said this, I'm drawing a blank.
Especially if you have a bunch of ideas and not enough time to write all of them. I think I would do that. Take some of my ideas that I just don't, have the time or the
Right.
enough get up and go to write a specific thing, but I'd like to see what comes of it.
Hasn't
Yeah.
Piers
Also,
Hampton...
to help people who have learning disabilities or things, something like dyslexia, because I have dyslexia, and I find it very hard to sometimes just write. Be nice to just give it to someone else. These are my ideas. This is what I want to do. Can you help me? That'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I don't look at the screen, but I have taken enough typing and I have enough practice typing where it's mostly muscle memory. So my dyslexia doesn't affect my job too much anymore, but in the beginning it was really hard. And I'm terrible at spelling because I transpose letters still.
Have to use a lot of different types of software to get around that.
The good thing that they have Grammarly and spell check and all that stuff.
Okay, so let's talk about that. The formatting. Do you have to have a bunch of different programs? Because somebody's like, I want it in Word. Somebody else is like, I want it in Scrivener.
The majority, I've really only had to use Microsoft Word and Google Docs.
Okay.
And Microsoft Word is great for people who are giving you a lot of creative freedom and they don't particularly want to check in all the time. They just want you to write the thing and give it back to them. Because in Word, you can deliver it as a docs or, a Word document or whatever. And with Google Docs, it's better for collaborating. If they're wanting to be heavily involved in the creative process and they want to work with you and redirect you if you're not seeing it exactly as they're envisioning it, then Google Docs is a better way to go.
How annoying is that? Or how fun is that? How annoying or how fun is that?
I love working with people on stuff. I prefer super collaborative projects. I'm extremely codependent, and having that knowledge that someone is waiting on my part of things kind of prompts me to get things done a little bit faster. But Grammarly works a lot better in Microsoft Word, so
Gotcha.
you got to kind of weigh in on what's most important for the given project.
Okay, so what questions have we not asked that you're like, man, this is so important and you're not even getting near it?
I think it was just the getting paid thing that I wanted to make sure, because a lot of people who are just starting out don't think that they're, worthy of putting your foot down and making sure. And if somebody is offended by you wanting to have that little bit of security, then
take it as
they're
a warning
not a
sign.
professional, and
Yeah. That's a red
don't
flag.
don't feel awkward or rude by trying to protect yourself.
Very true. And that goes for working anywhere. Okay, and I'm checking chat, seeing if there's any questions or comments there. Nothing. It's a pretty quiet night tonight. So let me see if I have any other notes here. What's that?
And it's because I'm not in there bugging you.
It could be. It could be. It's also like sometimes when Andrea's in there, she's like, "Hey, there's Damp. Good to see you. He stayed up. He missed us last night with the poker thing, or was it the other night with the writing thing? I don't remember. He missed us recently, but there he is. That's the gentleman who helped me learn didgeridoo, and he's in Belgium.
Oh, well,
That's
hello.
Steve. It's So, if we have nothing else specifically about ghostwriting, I guess we can get some closing thoughts right now and wrap this up. And I want to start with Laura because she didn't get to participate a whole lot in this. So, Laura, after listening to all this, Has it changed your thoughts about ghostwriting or done anything?
It's definitely opened my eyes to ghostwriting. I didn't know that you could just send out chunks, if you do get stuck. I didn't have a clue. I thought it was just, I've got an idea, you write it for me. That was what I thought it was. So you've definitely filled in some gaps for me.
I'm glad.
It gives me hope for people who want to grow their writing skill, grow their writing background, and make money writing without running that risk of just doing it all your own stuff. I don't have much more to say about it. It's so... Now, what about you, Crystal? You got any closing thoughts on the topic?
I will say that it has been the greatest and fastest way to learn how to write without having to pay myself. Because I got to learn so much. I got to work with so many great writers that are so much more skilled than I am. And I got to get paid just for cranking the words out for them. So I have no complaints. And people will say that it seems like an abusive situation to be in, but honestly, I gained so much more. And on top of it, I was able to work myself into a business that pays my bills. And, just all the skills that I acquired working with so many talented people has hopefully built me a foundation that I can grow my own career on as a writer and an author in the future. So I highly recommend it to anybody who is, if you have the stamina and you have the desire and the willingness to listen to feedback and make changes and grow, you should do it. Go for it. Give it a try and see if it's a way for you to move forward with your work.
That's awesome. One more quick question, then we're going to do the outro here. So, have you worked for anybody that you recognize the name before you went and researched them?
No, I have not.
Just curious.
Nobody super famous.
Okay. Say goodnight to everybody. We're going to wrap this up and
Good night.
Night.
Let me get our outro going. Before we go, I want to remind everyone that you can email us at writenightshow@gmail.com. That's right with a W, night with an N, show@gmail.com. To let us know your thoughts on the show's topic, suggest other topics you'd like to hear us discuss, or just have a message read out on air to someone in your life. Thanks to everyone for supporting the show by downloading the podcast, sharing it on social media, grabbing some shirt stickers and mugs from bit.ly/tavern merch, or barware patches and hats from bit.ly/tavern merch too. That's bit.ly/tavern merch or tavern merch followed by the number 2. Thanks to everyone who joined us live at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk, and everyone who supports the tavern by subscribing, hosting, throwing bits, raids, and most of all, commenting.
Thank you for joining author Travis I. Sivart and the other writers, content creators, and all-around amazing people for our discussion here on Writing Night. Join us again soon, and until you do, make sure you create with passion, enjoy the journey, and remember, every night can be right now.
This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.